on which these can be recognized as hand paper by their edges. Notice the slightly roughened sides which are formed when the vat man removes the decal from the mould on which the paper is made. No machine can make a true decal edge. This superb paper is made entirely from natural cotton fibres. At one time, all paper was made from rags, and some papers have a rag content even today. The rags are chopped into small pieces, and anything that is not cotton or linen removed. This includes elastic, wool, and man-made fibres, all of which must be discarded, and of course special care must be taken to cut out any buttons, pins, press studs, and the like. Then the rags are taken away to the boiler house. The boiler you see here is an old-fashioned chest type. It is heated by steam, but is not pressurized. Into the boiler full of water, an alkali is poured to soften the rags and clean them. Steam is turned on, and the rags are boiled for some hours. Today, cotton linters, which need no boiling or additional bleaching, form the bulk of the raw material. When the rags have been boiled long enough, the water is drained off. The boiled rags or linters are taken away for beating to the Hollander beater. The beater man sees that the right quantity of either rags or linters is put into the beater to give the required mixture for the type of paper being made. The water in the beater trough can be flushed out and continually changed so that any dirt in the rags and all traces of alkali and subsequent bleach treatment are washed away. Knives set round the circumference of the beater roll pound and shred the material until it is broken down into the individual fibres and to the correct length. After some hours, the material becomes a pulp. The pulp is tested to see it has the right consistency. When it is ready, the pulp, or stuff as it is now called, is run by gravity to the storage chest. Here, the stuff must be stirred all the time to prevent it settling. From this chest, the stuff is passed through a strainer called the knotter to remove any lumps or impurities before it reaches the paper-making vat. The noise you can hear is the clattering of the knotter, which of course must go on all the time the men are making paper. To make a sheet, the vat man takes a mould, places the decal on top and dips both into the vat. He lifts them out and shakes them first one way and then the other to form an even sheet with the fibres well interlocked. Then he passes the mould to the coucher, removing the decal at the same time. The coucher leans the mould against the ass to drain. Then he turns it upside down and deposits the sheet of paper onto a woolen blanket known as a felt. Another felt is put on top to keep the sheets of paper separate. When a post of 100 sheets has been built up, it is dragged to the hydraulic press. The press squeezes the water out with a force of over 2 tons per square inch on an 11-inch ram. The layer drags the post out again. It is the layer's job to separate the papers and felts, putting the wet sheets on a stool while he throws the felts ready for the coucher to use again. These sheets of paper need many more processes to dry and finish them ready for the customer. The edges of the packs are scraped before the paper is taken away to be dried. Then the sheets are passed individually through an air drying machine. They are carried through the machine sandwiched between 2 layers of nylon netting. Air, heated by steam pipes, is drawn in by electric fans and then passes round the sheets of paper to dry them before being expelled again by the fans. Even with all these precautions, the paper will crinkle and curl, and so, after drying, it is stacked in piles to flatten, mature and condition for 3 to 5 weeks or more. This paper will act like blotting paper and ink will soak into it, so it has to be sized. The sheets are placed one at a time between felt blankets, which revolve continuously and pass through a bath of hot gelatine size. To secure an adequate penetration and give an even coating, the sheets have to remain in the bath for about a minute. This is a process which cannot be hurried. Although they are pressed as they come out of the bath, the sheets are still warm and damp, and must be handled with care. These warm, damp sheets are put onto the cooling machine, where they are exposed to the atmosphere long enough to become cool, and in this way the size is set. They are taken off, and, as they are still damp, they are carried to the top of the mill, where the drying loft is situated. The paper is spread out on hessian or plastic mesh trays and dried very carefully to prevent the size turning brown or becoming mildewed. Steam heating pipes on the floor keep the loft at an even, warm temperature, and all cold drafts are carefully excluded. The trays are spaced out, one above the other, to allow the air to circulate, and then left for 2 or 3 days until the paper is quite dry. Even with the strictest precautions, the paper will crinkle, so, after it is taken out of the loft, it is flattened in piles with weights on top for days, weeks, or even months. If a smooth surface is needed, for example for a high-quality drawing paper, each sheet is placed between plates of zinc and made up into a wad. This wad is run between heavy steel rollers a number of times so that the pressure flattens the paper against the smooth surfaces of the zinc. Also, the rollers run at very slightly different speeds so that the paper is polished by the friction of the moving zinc plates. The smoothed sheets are taken out and have a final check to see that there are no blemishes such as tears, folds, or any other marks. This ensures that the paper is as near perfect as it possibly can be. So it is at last finished and can now be wrapped up in a parcel ready for dispatch to the customer.